Now watching the captain.
Hello, everybody. It is the captain. We are back in the dojo, and I'm here with a very, very special guest. My guy, Hellspawned Comics. I don't know if you want me to, I don't know if you about your government name at all. I don't want to throw your information out there.
Oh, Hellspawn? Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Demetrius is fine. I don't know. There's like a slight transition that's happening here where I need to be on some sort of professional terms. But yeah, I'm here. What's going on with you?
I'm good, man. Hey, got off work and not too tired, so it must be a blessed day.
Mm.
Thank you so much for your time and for just coming onto the platform, my man.
No, I appreciate the invitation. People, there's a lot of people who don't get spoken to. So, when
Right.
there's a lot of people that want to move things forward and they're just not in the position to do so because no one wants to talk to them. So it's always appreciated when someone says, "Hey, you free to come on?" I'm like, sure, man.
Hey, man, I'm always down to have a conversation. But for the people that aren't aware of who you are or what you do, could you kind of give them a brief rundown of who you are and what you do?
Okay. By trade in real life, I'm an electrician. But that is slowly transitioned from just that being that one thing to in the beginning, I was a amateur bodybuilder that transitioned out of that into cosplay. And 14 months into cosplay, I have done several characters like Sub-Zero, Kratos, um, BA Baracus, but it seems like one cosplay really went over really well with folks, and that was my He-Man, my version of He-Man. And if you Google Black He-Man right now, I come up, so it's the black dude with the 36-inch afro. So that put me in a position to gain a platform back in, was it October 2018? So it was moving into uh, I didn't get the platform until February of 2019, because that's when I started going viral when it came to Black History Month, and people started seeing more and more of the He-Man cosplay. And that was around the time where Black Panther was a strong, significant force within the mainstream media. And when one of your friends asks you, well, people are paying attention to what you're saying, so what are you going to say? What do you have to say? And started looking at how I was actually at the theater and I saw a couple little kids talking about, like, that's me right there, because they were pointing to a Black Panther poster, which makes it even more funnier because I actually have a comic book where that actually happens. Like, this Black Panther in Okoye with two little kids talking about that's me right there. It was kismet. But yeah, that representation hit me kind of hard, and because I'm 39 years old, so I grew up in the era of New Jack City and Boomerang and seeing movies that were Black centric never truly represented me, because I'm not a thug, I'm not a drug dealer. And like, then that kind of goes into another conversation of, like, why are we always depicted in this way? But then I said Boomerang, so you have the era of the Black Renaissance of movies where you had Black professionals that just existing, having a good time, having their lawyers, doctors, whatever. But
Right.
I digress. My cosplay career has put me in a place to talk about representation and advocate for not only Black heroes and the fact that they matter, but also Black owned conventions and Black nerds. So over the course of the next several years, I have traveled the country, attending Black owned conventions and seeing the different struggles that we're all going through. And a little over a year ago, I started an organization called Blurred and Powerful, where I am starting we're getting more traction. But I started a website that has the list of Black owned comic book conventions throughout the country, and we are supporting them by getting the word out that they exist. um, from there, um, talking about that, I garnered the attention of a new streaming service called Blurred Station, that is owned by KDS Entertainment, and they wanted me to help bridge the gap between the new streaming service and the blurred community. So in doing that, I went to San Diego Comic-Con last year and talked to a lot of people, and built a lot of bridges in those 4 days I was out there, and to the point now where we are partners with several people within Hollywood mainstream, and we are making viable steps towards finally launching the streaming service and having the funding to not only sustain that, but also sustain the projects that we want to produce that reflect Black voices and Black stories in non-traditional speculative fiction ways. Having Black people in Gundams, having Black people be the center of stories that have like Van Helsing type characters in it, and so much more. We're getting there. And the only thing I can say is thank you to everyone who's ever supported anything that I've ever, pushed or advocated for, because I'm not out here for myself. I've got a 4-year-old little boy that, I see how my presence in his life has affected him positively, and the presence of all the other people within my village have affected him positively. And those are people within the cosplay community. Those are people who are, creatives. So I can't help but to want to see a future for him where he can be creative. He could be free to do whatever he wants to do without being bogged down by having to work a 9-to-5 or having to, adhere to the rigors of having to go to college, where you can find your path, find your way through your fandoms, through your nerdom, So that's why I'm here. That's how I've progressed so far. There's so much more that's happening, but I'm just saying I can truly appreciate where I'm at, the journey that I've been on, and where we're going is so much more brighter.
That's amazing, dog. Representation is the magic word for me and a lot of the stuff that I do. So I appreciate you for that point and being as simple for that. I'm going to ask you a lot about more about Blur Station and more of your cosplay stuff after the main topic. But for people that are coming in and clicking on the video for the main topic of the X-Men stuff, I want to get into that really quickly. Just because, again, I saw some of your cosplay, and you mentioned early before we started that Cyclops was your favorite either X-Men or hero. I couldn't remember if you said it was your favorite hero.
He's my favorite X-Men. He's my favorite X-Men. Spawn is my favorite hero. Spawn is the one I've got tattooed on me.
We're going to talk about that. But yeah, that being the case, I saw the Cyclops cosplay. I thought you'd be perfect to have this conversation with about this particular show, because as far as on my platform specifically, I haven't discussed the show yet. For anybody watching, everybody's pretty much aware of X-Men 97 and what it is by this point. Hell, people were aware by the time the trailer dropped, or the announcement before the trailer dropped. We have 5 episodes in now, and more recently, the episode 5 has been the more, not even say polarizing, because I feel like the love for it has been universally positive as far as what I've seen on the internet, but it has it's spoken to a lot of people. Before we get into it, what were your feelings and sentiments on episode 5?
As soon as I saw Uatu, I was like, "Oh shit!" Because I was really okay. So this is my thing. I get up at 4:15 every morning for work. Right? I'm an electrician. I get to work by 6, off by 2. Spend another hour and a half on the road. Right? So it means I got an hour commute going and an hour and a half coming back. So I watch a lot of television, that's not subbed while I'm on the road. Right? It's dangerous, but at the same time, it's not, because it's I'm watching a podcast, because some things you can just catch up on, whatever. But so I'm watching on the road, and as the scene transitions from Scott and Jean to Genosha, and I see the night sky, I'm like, that's a bald head. Oh shit! It's it's about to go down, and I was like, wait a minute, this is Genosha. There's always something happening on Genosha. Always. They don't never catch a break for nothing. So I was like, all right, well, so are we doing spoilers?
Yeah, at this point, I feel like everybody's spoiling on the internet. I don't mind it. I'll probably put it in the description of the video or the title. Just for anybody watching, there are spoilers now. If you want to pause it here, go watch the episode, come back, do so. But we're gonna spoil this thing.
I have my own thoughts about people being spoiled on the internet. Like, stay off the internet if you don't want to be spoiled, because people are going to be talking about it. Like, it's personal responsibility. Like, you can't ask other people to take care of you when they don't even know you or they never even met you, but they just excited for the stuff that you watch too. They just happen to watch it either at midnight or 3 a.m. or at 5 a.m. when they're on the road to work. So, because they don't want to be spoiled, so they watch it.
I can avoid a spoiler. If I see any kind of post that even has a picture of what I want to avoid, I just go right past it. So I don't understand how you get spoiled like that.
It's Google. You can go to like Google's homepage and it'll just say, or even YouTube. The YouTube thumbnails just say, "Why did Gambit die?" You know what I mean? Like,
oh, true, fair enough.
You just be like, all right, you know what I mean? So no, it's your responsibility. If you don't want to be spoiled, just have the self-control to stay off your phone. Right. Like, it's really that simple. But then, of course, it's asking too much for some folks. But yeah, so when I didn't expect, because you know how that rule is. If you don't see a body, it didn't happen. Right. So Magneto still in play to me. They might have said, Omega Threat eliminated, but he was being touched by Leech. Leech could have not only weakened them, but he could have also slowed his heart or some shit like that. Who knows? I don't know all of what Leech can do, but I know that that's a possibility because I did not see a body. I just heard the Sentinels, and Sentinels be wrong. You know what I mean? So but I did see Gambit's body, and the whole "I can't feel you" took me right back to Wanda and Vision, and I'm like, yo. If she is touching him and nothing's happening and she's an empath and she can't feel this dude, oh, he's dead, And when I saw Cable, I was thinking, okay, there might be some timey-wimey, wobbly stuff happening, so we might get a reset. Who knows? This might be Earth 838 from the MCU, and we've only seen Beast. And Xavier might come back. Who knows? I don't know. But the fact of what I'm seeing is there's a lot of progression. And eliminating the status quo when it comes to X-Men, because you have new characters pop up all the time. So why are they not being acquired for the team? And I think they're gonna start moving in that direction. Actually, some people made the argument that it was Cassandra Cain that sent that big ass signal, and I'm not sure. I'm not so sure, because Cassandra Cain would make sense to a degree, but if you're looking at the lineup, we are getting the new X-Men with who's left alive right now. But then that motherfucker could have been Bastion, because we done seen spoilers. I'm not spoilers, but like Easter eggs of Bastion in the previous episode with Forge, and that he did explain that there's some like mutant hunting shit out there. So I don't know. I think it's bad.
I've seen all of the a million videos with theories for it. Like, I've seen for the opening title credit, they had Nightcrawler and Colossus in one. So okay, they must be coming. Well, Nightcrawler was in the episode in the intro, and they showed him. So I don't know, man. I'm curious, and that's the thing that's also great. I think that's being kind of revived with Marvel, not just the MCU, is when you have these projects, and because there's so many infinite possibilities of storylines they could follow, all the fans are just talking about it and chattering about it, which is amazing for Marvel, because it's breathing life back into them to a level that I think the Deadpool movie is going to be exponentially even more for, as far as just getting people excited about your product again after people feeling some type of way about it. For me, because this is part of the reason why I titled the video the way I did, I felt like up until this episode that the show was getting kind of rushed, because you would have major event after major event happen, whether Storm lose her powers, all the Xavier really dying was the first one, but you would have all these big things happening, and I felt like that the characters weren't getting time to react to what was going on. Because when you look at the comics for Claremont, in between huge events, he would have 15 to 20 issues where he's kind of just showing how the effects of the last big event was affecting each of the characters. Because everybody had something or someone lost that they had some kind of a relationship with, treating it like a soap opera. And I felt like through the first 4 episodes, I'm like, damn, we're just going back to big event, and it's getting really anthology-ish with how we're showing it. This episode was what I wanted in regards to. They took all the time in like the first half of the episode showing how all the previous stuff with Gambit, Rogue, and Magneto was going down, showing how the effects of Madeline Pryor and Scott was going down. Because to me, that felt even crazy rush because you didn't even see Scott really like address her after they sent Nathan off. Like she just spoke to Jean, said I'm Madeline Pryor, and took off, and then didn't acknowledge it at all. This is what I wanted as far. This is what I feel like makes X-Men special with regards to like their relationships with one another. Like the powers are great, the stories are great, but I think where they really shined is building this family and showing how their familiar bonds are affected when someone dies, when someone has something tragic happen to them. And this felt like an amazing episode to me.
I think you are shortchanging it because you're not giving the credit of watching all 5 episodes back to back to back. And because I think you only watched it like you probably watched one. I mean, you probably watched each episode once or twice that week and haven't gone back to rewatch them. Because I just rewatched episodes 3 through 5 about 2 hours ago, and I can say that they have been like the way that you do short-term, long-term storytelling, especially in an adaptation. Not a one-to-one comparison to a comic book, which is infinitely long-term storytelling, is that you pepper things in. And they have said multiple things to lead up to Genosha joining the UN, which was during the Jubilee episode. And then the fact that everything happened at the end of episode 2, where, Genosha was mentioned as far as being talked to about being at the UN because of what happened with Magneto. Like they have been talking about all the different things that you mentioned, including the ramifications and the impact of what's happened with Madeline and Jean and stuff. Like they're talking about it. They just don't lean into it because they have a central character that they want to focus on. And that's that kind of that's what you got to be able to do in 35 minutes. Like this is the most X-Men that we have gotten that actually has been damn near comic accurate since the 93 X-Men. Because even then they only had 20 minutes with commercials to do it.
Yeah.
And now we got full on 35 minute episodes that are telling everything that you need. Like, and I don't know. I don't think that's a fair assessment that you have because I see how they've been peppering things in. Like the A story, there's like three stories in each episode. It's just you got to pay attention to the C story that's being mentioned in the background.
I can see that point of view of it as well. I'm enjoying it though. I will say I'm enjoying how much other characters are getting shine. Because initially, before it started, I was kind of scared. Morph, yeah, bro. Morph was getting some love. Gambit's getting some love, bro.
I'm just saying, like Morph is like out there showcasing that there are other mutants in the universe, and like he's using all their power. I don't remember his powers being that effective, but he seems like he is way more effective than Mystique.
His powers are kind of broken-ish because he's like imitating people's powers as he's transforming into them.
Right.
As far as I remember, Mystique couldn't even do that, where she would transform into maybe like Wolverine, people with like a physical ability where you can transform your body, but like she was like using Magic's abilities or like Colossus abilities at one point.
Yeah, like Morph is, but then Morph was doing that in the original series too. He did that during season 2, the season finale of season 2, I believe, when they were fighting. Was it Sinister? But yeah, might have been Apocalypse. I don't know. I can't remember that much. But yeah, like that. Morph was always a little broken, but then the fact that we're seeing him like changing to Psylocke with her swords from Colossus. Okay, that means you could just materialize anything.
This is broken. That being said, it brings a good question. I've mentioned this on my podcast a while ago, but I want to ask you the same question. Do you have like a favorite mutant who has not been introduced into this version of the show yet you would like to see?
My only favorite mutants are Cyclops and Colossus. Those are the only ones that I can say are like the mutants that speak to me, because like, and I've said this before on just in various mediums, but I realize the kind of personality that I have, I don't really take in characters that have weak dispositions. I don't really accept them. Like, they're cool for background, but those are side characters to me. I have like an overall theme for my cosplay, which is basically overwhelming power. You know, whether it be Sub-Zero, whether it be Omni-Man, whether it be, you know, like there's every character that, because I have this thing with me, whereas there's this one episode of Buffy, right, where there was a spell that was cast on everybody on the entire town, where whatever they were wearing for Halloween that year, that's what they were stuck as. You know, that's what the personality they have, whatever. So in my mind, if there's ever some magic that happens, whatever, and I happen to be in cosplay, it has only been 2 or 3 instances where I've been in some sort of cosplay that I would not be able to take care of myself. I was the Cat in the Hat, and I was Sebastian the Crab from The Little Mermaid. So those are the only 2 ones I'm just like, I had to get those things off quickly because I ain't want nothing to happen to me. But
I look like you can pull off a mean Larry the Lobster from SpongeBob. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Hey, some people were asking me if I was him. I'm like, no, I'm Sebastian. We're here to promote the movie. But no, so yeah, like Colossus and Cyclops, you know, I just as a child, I was all about Colossus because I watched that. I had on VHS prior to the X-Men, that pilot episode to the X-Men series that never got made, but got turned into that video game that everyone plays, at least the arcade joint. And Colossus was just ridiculous on that show. You know, I was like, yo, I love this dude. And then when I got older, from 15, 16 years old, I started reading more about Cyclops. I'm like, yo, this is that dude, you know. But you know,
I think so. For me, I think my top 3 are like Colossus, Gambit, and Wolverine are like in my top 3 favorites, just because coolness factor. Because kind of, again, you're a good little bit older than me. So like my introduction to Colossus was the movies, the 2000 movies, and then I started watching them in other animated series like Wolverine and the X-Men, like X-Men Evolution. But the one character that I want to see really badly that I have not seen since X-Men Evolution is a character named Spike, who was the nephew of Aurora, where he had the coolest powers to me, where he just the spike claws and shit. I'm like, it just seemed cool because it was kind of similar to Wolverine, so that's kind of why I fucked with it at first. And then he looked like me, so I'm like, damn, a black teen with these cool ass abilities that's very versatile. I want to see this dude again somewhere.
I want to say that Spike was made exclusively for that series.
Yes, he was. The thing that hurts me though is X-23 was the same way. She was made for that series, but then she got branched out due to popularity, and they used her to death for a little bit.
Right, but because you know because Spike is a version of Marrow.
Fair enough.
So I mean, you know, you can't have 2 bone users. You know what I mean? And she was in X-Men 97.
I mean, she was in Psychics. We got a million Wolverine clones.
I mean, all the Psychics have something different about them, but then the Wolverine clones are part of Weapons Plus. So, you know, there's a reason why they exist. There's no reason other than maybe, you know, the luck of the draw of another bone user type deal. You know, and then you got Kimimaro from like Naruto. So you can use that. I mean,
Fair enough.
I
would love him. Like, he didn't have to have the same backstory, but I don't know. I always thought he was the representation aspect for me was that the coolness factor of like in that show, somebody that looked like me was in there. But
of course, I mean that's definitely a plus. Because like even though the mutants are coded as black, it's nice to see black mutants like really just out there rocking it out. I hear you. Have you it's like on your thumbnail you got Storm, you know, and you ask about was X-Men 97 rushed? Have you considered like the order of which her story is being told as something that's being rushed?
Initially, I thought that after the second episode because they showed her losing her powers in the first one, and then they didn't really address it in the second one. In that third episode, At the end of the second one is when Forge popped up. So I'm like, damn, are we about to just like have her get her powers right back in the next episode? But then they went through the process of like her kind of going through the trials and tribulations of attempting to get those powers back with Forge. So I enjoyed it a lot more after that extent.
Okay, because
I think to your point, I think me seeing them week to week is what really kills me, because I have to wait and be like, okay, what are they doing here?
No, go back and rewatch them, because like this is the zeitgeist. This is the time to really fully invest yourself in the series and watch each episode over and over again, right? Because they're easy watches, but especially when you're looking for something, because like from the story, from the comic standpoint, like I understand that I said earlier that animation is an adaptation and things don't have to be one-to-one comparisons. What I do feel like what was rushed is Storm's hairstyle. You know what I mean? Because in the comics, the reason why she, got the mohawk is because she went on a journey of self-discovery after she lost her powers. So having her have her mohawk in episode 1, I mean, now presently, even before she lost her powers, was more of an aesthetic thing than what it truly meant to her. And I think that kind of robbed her of a little bit of her agency and her character development, because why does she have the mohawk now? Why?
It's like it's possibly like an animation design as far as them saving money as far as animating all her hair versus just like
no, because they spent dumb money on animation shit that didn't need to be done, because I think there was one analysis where the intro, right? Of course they're gonna spend money on the intro, but the intro itself, they have Storm and Rogue moving at different frames per second than the Blackbird, and that's something that was exceedingly difficult to do back in the day, or more expensive to do. And then even the fact that if you watch the original intro compared to the current one, Beast, in the original one, Beast didn't have a background, didn't have any mountains behind him, didn't have no grass. He was just on a flat plane and he was just jumping. Whereas now he's got all the scenery in the world, and the fact that they are actually changing the intro week to week, not just adding new scenes to show you, little clips of past episodes, whatever, but it's the idea that if you pay attention to Jean's hair, you can tell which one's in the episode.
Right.
Is it Jean or is it Madeline? Because the hair is up or the hair is down. You know what I mean? So they're doing some really, really great stuff. Like it's awesome. And they're not wasting money. They're actually using it in the most effective way possible.
Right. So all in all, how do you feel about the show as a whole? I mean, I can guess, because I feel like most people don't really have much to complain about with the show. There's like nitpicking things here or there about personal choices, but what is your genuine overview of the show itself?
This is my thing. I am an unapologetic Marvel fanboy. Like I don't badmouth the movies. I just say that it wasn't for me. Why is that? Because I see the movies as individual comic books. I see the TV shows as individual comic books. And then when it comes to Avengers movies, they are annuals. They come together, all together. You know what I mean? So I don't badmouth them. I just say they're like, Captain Marvel may not be for me. You know what I mean? And I just leave it at that. It wasn't supposed to resonate with me. It was supposed to resonate with white women. You know what I mean? Just like how Black Panther is not always going to resonate with white folks, just because who are they speaking to? Who's directing it? You know what I mean? So for that, so I say all that to say, I love this shit. Like this is, I'm not nitpicking it. There's no reason for me to. There's so much positive stuff for me to find in these episodes. Like, damn, like this shit is like, this is what we had wished that the movies would have been. And I can look back at every single DC movie that's come out and be like, yo, that was a piece of shit, and I could badmouth that all day because, even though there are some DC characters that are cool, they don't resonate with me on a basic level, because why am I trying to relate to a god who's trying to trying to pose as a human, whereas on the side of Marvel, you have a whole bunch of ordinary people who are thrown into extraordinary situations and they have to find a way. They still got fucking bills to pay. When's the last time Superman paid a bill or had a problem paying the bill?
For me, Kiora, we can fight later. For me personally, I am a DC fanboy myself. I'll admit my first introduction into nerddom in general was like the DC animated series stuff. And for me, the thing that I admire the most about DC and the way they tell their stories like that, to your point, a lot of those characters are gods who are given the issues of mortal men. For Superman, I think, granted, I don't like that nigga at all. I'll keep it. I don't really like Superman at all. I'll keep it above. Superman is very boring because what happens is you have this god and you're trying to show chinks in the armor, but you've already made him out to be this immortal being, which makes sense because I think his origins, he was made to be like, he was created by the two Jewish men during the World War II, so he's supposed to be a symbol more than anything else, supposed to be this impenetrable symbol. But when you look at the issues of his storytelling, his best stories happen when he's either a villain
or depowered,
or he's depowered or he's killed. More so for the fact he has human problems. And that's the thing that I admire the most about DC Comics in general, is with their ability to tell the stories of what if mortal men had the ability. It's kind of like that whole concept of absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you have like with Batman in particular, you have this white male power structure that we live in, and you have essentially the quintessential white male, rich, tall, white, strong, highly sought after, whatever else, and he has to control his wants. As far as he's talked about in different issues where he's wanted to kill people like the Joker a million times over the wild that they've done, but he's shown that restraint. Now, whether you believe that's a positive thing or a negative thing, the ability to stick to your morals is something that's really interesting to me, and how those morals are tested, which is why I admire Superman so much with certain issues where you're pushing him to the limit of like, all right, will he break if I keep pushing him? But he stands strong in his morals as an individual. Sometimes it's hit or miss depending on the story that's being told, but I enjoyed that aspect of DC the most because characters like, I think I did a video essay recently, I did it a couple years ago on Jon Stewart. I personally love Jon Stewart as like one of my favorite heroes of all time, more so because he's a lot like my grandfather as far as the military aspect and all that good stuff. But an episode of the Justice League show, the thing that I admire the most about him is when he had that whole thing where he thought he blew up a Jor 4 because he was like fighting Kandor or whatever else. And the fact that he thought he had murdered an entire planet of people, he surrendered to whatever the justice system of that space galaxy system was to sentence him. He could have easily just been like, hey, I was trying to save people. It's not really my fault like that. But because he thought he did harm and he has this godly power, he surrendered that and surrendered to his own morals of what's right and what's wrong. And stuff like that is where I'm like, okay, you took accountability for actions. And it's, to me, it's stuff like that to where when I look at myself as a man, okay, you have all this power as a large man, but what do you stand on? What are your morals? What are your ethics? What makes you you? And I think your word and what you perceive as right or wrong is, to me, what makes you strongest as a man personally.
You are not in the majority of the DC fandom, because the DC fandom sees them. They don't see lessons like that. They don't resonate with shit like that. They resonate with absolute power. You know what I mean? The fact that DC, like the fact that people love Batman, for the fact that all he needs is prep time. You know what I mean? It's the fact that they don't see the restraint. They see the power. You know what I mean? And that's what resonates with so many people. And then like you can transition this same, you can apply the same argument towards anime fans who love like Death Note. They don't get the point behind it. You know what I mean? And or all these fucking black folks who love the Akatsuki, but then yet they don't love Yahiko's Akatsuki. You know what I mean? Like they are all about the evil Akatsuki because they look cool and they walk together. Like y'all missed the whole point. Y'all missed the entire point of why that was a thing. And that's what I see in a lot in the fandoms, is that people miss, like, media literacy is at an all-time low. I've been having this discussion for the last like 6 days now. People don't pay attention to the shit that they watch at all.
I agree. I think literacy when it comes to people consuming content, products in general, because the main thing you hear a lot with music, where it's like, oh, this artist is perpetuating this negative stereotype of this thing. When in all reality, people just listen to this shit for fun. I think the biggest thing is like a Sexy Red or a Future, whatever else. I, as somebody who cognitively can like analyze what I'm consuming, I can enjoy this song about misogyny or whatever else and not perpetuate that thing, because I know that's not real. Because for one, I've seen interviews where like Future's talked about he doesn't even do this shit he raps about. For one, he himself has said that shit. But you have to understand when what you're consuming, what's real and what's fake. Because you've seen it with stuff like porn or whatever else, where people are like, they're consuming this stuff and they're just internalizing it. And that now that's what the standard is for human beings when the standard is unrealistic. It's a whole thing. You just have to realize what's real and what's fake and what you're consuming.
What's comedy is the fact that those people who think that that's reality weren't able to make that a reality on their own anyway. They're not capable. That's not their lifestyle. They are somewhere in Oklahoma, living on a farm somewhere, thinking that, oh yeah, if I believe in Trump, I could be rich too. Like it's the same mentality. Like think about it.
That killed me so much too. Go ahead, my bad.
No, I'm just saying, thinking like, there's just so many people out there who are so easily influenced by the prospect of power that they think they can attain it and maintain it when they don't even know what true power is. Because if they thought that it was, if they thought they knew what it was, they would realize that it was already within themselves. So many people don't realize what they can do for themselves. They rely on other people's stories to eventually come down to them, and that's what makes them weak. That's what holds a lot of people back, but that's okay.
Right, I agree. For me, like the true power is restraint of power, knowing when and when to use it. And that's why, like, for me, I don't know if you've been watching Invincible at all, keeping up with Invincible, but
yes,
the thing that made me such an Omni-Man fan, like as the show's been going on, is the realization of doing whatever you want and not being stopped because you're stronger, living longer, you have all these advantages. It's as I've read through the comic series, so I have a little bit more insight on how he develops later on. But yeah, you see like how much his whole methodology and outlook on life changes through experience. It's stuff like that with the medium of animation and cartoons, where some people perceive it to be childish, obviously from the fact that a lot of people watch Saturday morning cartoons, and stuff like Justice League, the animated series, where they were able to sneak in these really intricate plot lines of humanity and sociological nature, like sneaking all that in is great. That's the sociologist in me. I graduated with a sociology degree from college, so I love to look at people from that sociological framework of, as human beings, how do we react to stimuli and to situations, to trauma, whatever it may be? Is it the whole thing of human nature versus nurture, essentially? Are we naturally good at heart, or are situations corrupt us and change us into different things we need to be?
I think it's a mixture of both. But, if you go back, because like I say to everyone who will listen, I am an indoctrinated child of the 80s. I was a product of the Reagan era, where they wanted cartoons to be more positive in nature and have you think about the environment, have you think about, what you could do for yourself, as far as pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps, whatever. Because when you think of the slogans that came out, was He-Man, I have the power. Captain Planet, the power is yours. Power Rangers, may the power protect you. You know what I mean? Like, there are so many different reasons as to why we should be able to be self-sustaining because of the media that we ingest, because they're all saying the same shit. It's just in a different way. People watch My Hero Academia and then they immediately think that Deku is a weakling. Like, no, like the boy had to build up his body in order to get to that point, and then he still shows restraint and is thinking the entire way through. You got people who think Ichigo is the end all be all when it comes to anime. I'm like, homeboy loses powers every 5 minutes. So like his strength of character is what you should be looking at when it comes to him. You know what I mean? And his ability to get back up after failing so many different times. you know what I mean, or being knocked down. Like there are not hidden messages. They're right there thrown in your face. You're just choosing not to see them because you're not smart. Like that's just the way it is to me. I don't know.
I don't think it's necessarily an intelligence thing. I think it's in the human nature to always look at the path of least resistance in that aspect. People always, that's part of the propaganda, I guess, in America with the American dream or whatever else. You're sold and shown this golden palace, the picket fences, and all these perfect things you can have as a people. And it's within human nature to be like, okay, how do I get there with the least amount of effort and least amount of work? So that leads to hidden links to whatever the situation is, so I can get there without having to go down the long-term route of years of education, years of experience, years of building up trades and skills, and then building up to that thing. It's, okay, can I get this within a matter of months? Can I grind really hard in the short term to get that long-term success? And to your point, with characters like Ichigo or some of those shonen characters where by luck of happenstance, they're bestowed these godly abilities because of genetics, because of happenstance of who they know, they were at the right place at the right time in something like a Death Note. They're given all this power, and because you didn't earn this power, now they're kind of you get it all at one time without the journey of getting it. So then I think that's where the corruption comes in. I think for the characters that have to grind out a little bit more, like some characters like a Goku or like a Naruto, who usually have to grind for a certain level of strength. Granted, later stuff with Dragon Ball, like he's kind of skipping shit. But in the initial parts of the show, where you have to train for years in a time chamber to get to a certain level of strength, some people that are in that same mindset, that's what they like. That's what they relate to in that regard, the grind to get that power. So then you kind of have a better understanding of the power you have because you had to earn it, not just have it bestowed upon you.
And this thing is like, you have, how old are you?
24.
24?
Yeah.
Okay. So in my day, there was Toonami that came on between 4 and 7 p.m. in the afternoon. Not what it comes out now in midnight, right? And one of the first iterations of Toonami had not only Dragon Ball Z, but it also had Gundam Wing. You know what I mean? And are you familiar with Gundam Wing?
I'm familiar with it. I've not watched it in its entirety, no.
Okay, so the biggest thing about Gundam, we're talking about shonen characters that are just giving shit or whatever. No, yeah, 15-year-old boys that were trained by their individual colonies to pilot those Gundams, right? Because that's all what Gundam is all about. Is all about war and politics, right? Mm-hmm. And the point I'm making is that you had a show like Dragon Ball Z and Gundam Wing come out in the same time here in the States to give you varying perspectives on that very large spectrum of that war is hell. You know what I mean? So to me, if you're ingesting all these different things in medium that are showing you different perspectives of things, why can't you come to a consensus as to what, at least an amalgam or a common ground as to what things can be or should be when it comes to certain topics? Some people just go straight to the left and only think about, I need to go punch something, as opposed to considering the consequences that come with your actions. You know what I mean? Like there's so much out there that allows for folks to really truly consider different things, and I don't understand why they don't. That's why I think that it's more of an intelligence thing, because if it's too difficult for them to grasp, they are going to take that road of least resistance of like, I'm just going to take whatever spoon fed to me.
I can see that standpoint.
I'm genuinely asking, why is it difficult for people to combine ideals that center on the same topic and then come to a common area where they can find a middle ground, as opposed to just being all about the left?
I think it's because you have to admit fault 9 times out of 10. Because usually when you're having that conversation for a middle ground, you have to acknowledge that the way you were going about it wasn't the correct way. And pride, ego, things like that take over. And also I think things like tribalism play a big part into, if it's something with political gain, where you usually have some kind of symbol, rather that be a dictator, rather that be something like a Dalai Lama or the Pope or whatever else. People have a lot of ease with giving over their their sense of right or wrong into an individual and using that individual as their guide through life, backing into that road less traveled again, where if I believe in this individual and heed his word, he'll lead me into greatness. And I don't have to worry about questioning my own morality or my own thought process. That's how you get a lot of Bible thumpers in the South who just regurgitate information that they've heard without really questioning the context of the Bible. Because if you question it, you'll see a lot of things that don't add up because you had so many different people put their hands on it throughout the ages, or the Dark Ages, the Catholic Church, whatever else. People have fucked with this thing to where it's not its original goal and objective. But if you just trust in your pastor, you trust in your pope or whatever it may be, you ignore all that stuff, and it's easy for you to live your day to day because you're resting knowing that this political figure that you put on a pedestal, he can guide me to safety, he can guide me to a better place, and I don't have to worry about the internal struggle of fixing myself and my own relationship with whatever I believe in, which is why I'm so big on morals and ethics, because it's your internalized growth and development, not just you relying on somebody else. Other people can help you develop, and as they should, because knowledge and things like that should be shared, but you shouldn't just entrust you and your development as an individual all in this one person, because it's easy to do. It's not hard. Which is how you get all these parasocial relationships with celebrities, social media, things like that. Instead of using them as inspiration, you're using them as the standard and trying to be them instead of be similar to them in your own way.
I'll accept that because it comes down to personal responsibility, and a lot of people lack the accountability to even have that. So okay, I'll accept that. Thank you.
Again, I didn't know we were going to go down the rabbit hole of all the sociology and all that. I didn't mean to drag you there, but
no, I mean it wasn't that you dragged me, because I'm sitting here, I'm talking just as much as you are. So, but no, like I see it, I just don't like it. Like I don't. There's a lot of people I don't like, and I can immediately point to them, or at least I can point them out that I don't like you because you would rather be a follower than someone who just makes things happen for themselves. And I don't rock with those folks. That's not my tribe. So
I agree. I'm the same way. I think the optimist in me believes in guiding them to the right way of thinking, but everybody can't be saved, obviously. So it is what it is. But because we're closer to time, I do want to circle back to a lot of your endeavors. And you've probably gotten this question a lot in regards to the beginning of your content creation endeavoring. But I'm curious about what moved you towards cosplay and what made you want to step out into that, your first cosplay you did, and kind of what gave you the motivation and the excitement to keep going forward. Some of your cosplays are really elaborate and which are fucking phenomenal. So I'm like, damn, he has to really like this to be wearing all this. Like I seen the Hawkman cosplay you did for the Black Adam stuff. I'm like, to wear something that big, heavy, and elaborate, I'm assuming, I'm like, you gotta like what you do.
Yeah. So the reason why I transitioned out of bodybuilding is because that was what my ex-wife and I used to do together. We used to compete. And when we got divorced, I tried to do a couple more shows, and I did. I finished out 2017 pretty well, and I was like, this isn't what it used to be, because the support system isn't there. So thing is, I've been collecting action figures since I was 4. So you can see this. If I turn this stuff around, like all the Power Ranger stuff is there.
Yeah, Megazords are fire. I need to get a Megazord. That's what I need to get for my setup.
All the Spawn stuff is there, you know. And then I come back around here to behind me is all the DC stuff. You see the Total Justice and also the Marvel superhero stuff. And over here is like all the X-Men stuff that you can see right there, like up there. So like, and as you see, like my Green Lantern, my Turbo Man from Jingle All the Way, you know, like all this stuff is
Turbo Man.
Oh. And that's the Tiger Direct one. That's not like the recent one that came out, but that's the one that came out in, was it 94? But yeah, like I've collected all this stuff over the years, and like in that closet back there is all my comics, except for the ones that I have that are behind me that are pinned to the wall here. But I've had props. I've had like that Green Lantern, Abin Sur's lantern. Like I've got that. So I was like, oh, you know, I can start doing cosplay, because I was going to comic book conventions with my ex-wife, but I wasn't getting into like I wasn't getting into character, and I didn't know there was a community either. So my first cosplay was Kratos. You know, I didn't plan for it to be as cathartic as it was, but I was 3 weeks out from a competition, so I had my abs, and I was like, "Fuck it, like let me go, you know, get painted, you know, get all this stuff." Because I'm never one of those ones that does things half-assed. So you know, I'm a fool ass kind of guy. So
No,
so yeah, so I went to AwesomeCon 2017, and it was my first cosplay as Kratos, and I realized that if you know the character's story, you know, with the ashes being fastened to his skin is his wife and his daughter. When I came home and I washed all that stuff off, that was like me washing off my past. Like I'm now in this new transition, this new era of shit. No. Found out that they have allocated $300 million. Okay. Right. Like, yeah, that stops you for a second. But yeah, like, you know, I was like, if I'm gonna do this cosplay thing, I'm gonna have fun with it. And then people started reaching out to me once they saw the photos of Kratos, and they were like, "Yo, you should do like Sub-Zero or something like that. You should do some Mortal Kombat with me and stuff." So I was like, started looking to it, and I didn't realize at that point it was a whole ass community, you know. And I just fell into it, you know. And there was a lot of pitfalls that I fell into while learning what this community is like. And yeah, like that's, you know, and then the whole thing as far as Hellspawned, my name came from the idea is like, if I'm going to be doing this, then I want people to think that I made a deal with the devil, because the cosplays are that good. So they are Hellspawned cosplays. So
hey, shit. Was not expecting that to be that deep, and that's amazing, man.
I mean,
damn.
Think about it. We play these video games. We watch this anime. You know, we read these comic books. Like, there's an opportunity to truly turn into like one of these characters and embody them. Why not have some real pathos behind it? Why are you just doing cosplays just to do it, just so you can get views, likes and clicks? You know, like, what the fuck? Like, no, you do this for yourself. You know. If I still was able to train the way that I was before I had my son, you know, I would have been Captain Planet by now. I would have been Enzo from Reboot by now. You know what I mean? Like, I just haven't had the time to be in the gym like I want to.
Same way. I think because I'm just looking to kind of prep for my first cosplay, which is why, like, if you look at the background over here, I got like my katanas over here because I'm thinking about doing like Kenpachi Zaraki type of thing. I'm a huge Star Wars guy, so I'm like, all right, maybe Mace Windu may be to go. I'm bald headed, so I'm like, that makes sense as well. And that's my main thing is like, I don't want to step out of half-assed. If I'm doing it, I don't want to get like some Party City shit. I want to go all in, spend a little bit of bread, and start doing them well. So when I see people like you, I'm like, okay, that's some shit. I have to. You set, at least for me personally, you set the standard of like how badass this needs to be. So I need to personally prepare body, mind, and soul into getting to that. At least for me, I know I'm a little weird in how I approach stuff. If I even like I video edit as well, so if I see a dope edit in like a movie or something, all right, cool, I want to try that shit. I want to do something that was amazing to me. I want to replicate that, see if I can do it.
Can I offer a piece of advice?
Of course.
I have to ask because I don't like when people offer me shit and I don't ask for it. But one of the best things about cosplay is that you can really make the character your own, and no one else will look like you. You know what I mean? Because if you fought like, okay, here's a perfect example. My Sub-Zero. My Sub-Zero is, I feel like my Sub-Zero is Bihan. He just didn't get killed, right?
Right.
But he was corrupted by the dragon medallion that he got in Deadly Alliance, right? So if you look at my tabard, I've got the dragon medallion like embroidered on there, and I got the Lin Kuei joint on the other side. So when he in the actual lore, when he got the dragon medallion, his powers actually boosted. That's when he became a Grand Master. So his eyes went from blue to white, right? And in my mind, since he's being corrupted by the dragon medallion. That's why I've got now a dragon mask, as opposed to just a regular Lin Kuei mask, and then like my gauntlets are like leather bound with like, dragon talons and claws and shit. And you know what I mean? Like, it's if you make the cosplay your own, who can say that you're wrong? You know what I mean? Like, what would be your version of Mace Windu if they didn't realize that he survived his fight with Palpatine?
I would probably go down that route of, I don't know if, because there's been like some books of like the extended lore of him about after that stuff that it's not canon now, obviously, after Star Wars, after Disney took over.
Okay.
Well, with him being scarred, and I think he took a little bit more of a villain role, because if you look into the lore of his fight style in general, Vapad, I believe, is the name of his form that he invented, which essentially takes parts of the dark side. He embraces his dark side and walks that fine line of dark side abilities. And I think after the extended lore, when you got the cybernetic armor, whatever else, he kind of embraced more of the dark side and increased it a little bit more. So I'd probably go with maybe like a scarred version of him. I don't know how I'll pull off a mechanical hand. I don't know. I'll figure that out, I guess. But I try, things like that.
It could be bandaged. It could just be bandaged, because like you're not proud of it, because again, you having, that was something that's also on the Sith side of shit. They're not proud of mechanical like appendages, because it's not natural to the Force. It takes you away from it. But like, hey, you have any, that's the thing about this, man. Like, if you turn it into, like, my Hawkman's a mixture of like Savage Hawkman and another version of it, and that's why it looks the way that it does, and between that and then my Cyclops, people think that it's a X-Force Cyclops. No, it's a Black Lives Matter Cyclops. That's why it is the color that it is, and that's why. And I decided to do Cyclops during the summer of George Floyd's murder. So, like, you have to have real pathos behind your shit to make it so much more different than anybody else, or else you're just really wearing a costume and nobody's going to notice you.
So the question I'd have for people that are seeing your stuff, that's curious about how you pull stuff off to that degree, do you have like a tailor or somebody you go to get specific things made? Do you have a team, or how do you go about, like, what's your, for example, your Sub-Zero one, you said you got things embroidered into it. Who helped you get to that point to where those things are that legit? Because obviously you can't just buy it out of a store.
Well, see, that's the thing. My mom taught me how to shop. My mom and my sister. I plan my cosplays out at least like 6 months in advance. You know what I mean? And I go through Etsy, I go through Amazon, and then like, I'm creating a new version of my Cyclops, right? And it's going to be, in my mind, something that could be like real world practical. If you have all these harnesses, what kind of harness do you see like that he would wear that would be real world practical? Something that you get from the military. You know what I mean? Like some desert storm, or desert, like, like pack or whatever. These are all things that you can find if you truly think about what you're doing and plan it out. As far as like the people who I commission, my utilities, yes, I definitely do have somebody. I just got fitted for the Cyclops just a week ago. Woman of Wonders 8 on Instagram. She's the one who built that Hawkman. And she's done some other things for me as well. Like, when I was a part of this one project, there was a shield that she was able to make for me. So there, and like, if I make if Blur Station works in a certain way that I hope that it works towards, I would pull her, say, hey, we're gonna have you be costume designer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because like, she's trained to do that, so she needs to be doing that. She's just not on the right side of the country to be doing that full time. She lives in Maryland. She's not in Hollywood or whatever. So yeah. And as far as like anybody else, like Sir Julius Cosplay, like he's been killing it with 3D printing. Like he made my son's Old Ranger helmet. And like he's doing some other stuff for me. But he's in his creative bag. And like there are a lot of people who I will always prop up to say, yeah, you need to go to this person, you need to go to that person, because if I have a platform what's the point of me having it if I can't prop other people up or let other people know that these other folks exist? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Because this platform was a gift because y'all didn't have to like shit.
Right.
So like y'all could have just seen me as some regular ass dude and just continue to scroll and not follow. But you see something in me, so I gotta put other people on.
We're sure gonna hit you up because I'm in Atlanta now and I'm looking for people that are in the city. I'm trying to be more social. I'm a social person,
Atlanta?
but this last year, yeah, I'm in Atlanta.
So you're gonna be at Urban Nerd Con?
I will be there. Yeah, I'm gonna be there with Blurred for the booth and doing it there. So,
all right,
I mean, you pull up. Tell us.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be there from Thursday to Sunday. So yeah, I'm gonna be down there for a while because I'm bringing Blurred and Powerful and Blurred Station down because I got to make the video because I'm still waiting on the trailer from the last time we did something at J1 Con. But yeah, we're having another episode of issue 1 being taped. Where we're taking in people's pitches for their issues of comic books that they want to get made into a series, and we're willing to fund their first issue so they can start selling the books.
That's amazing. We're gonna talk because I know I'm trying to be a lot bigger this year and intentional about networking, meeting people, because I never know who I can introduce that may be able to benefit each other better. Because I think, again, going back to people that look like us, historically speaking, when you see us striving success is when we are working together as a group, whether it be Black Wall Street, I'm not gonna say sharecropping, but whatever it is, we usually thrive together. So if I can connect more of us, then that can be a thing. I try to do so.
Yeah, being a bridge can be more like who was it? It was just one of these damn anime. What it was? Demon Slayer. Tanjiro told Homeboy that when you help others, you end up helping yourself. And like these are lessons again that people just don't get. Like it's right there. Be the bridge.
Well, my man, I'm not gonna hold you all day. It's been great, and I could talk all day. That's why I'm like, I gotta cut myself off so I don't hold you hostage. If you would, before you take off, remind everybody of your platforms or the projects you may be having upcoming, places you want to be at, so they can follow you, all that good stuff.
Oh, well, Instagram, Hellspawned _cosplay, TikTok at Hellspawned. Also on Instagram, you should go to blurred.and.powerful. If you go to blurredandpowerful.com, you'll find all the Black-owned conventions within the country. I think we're up to 31 now. When I first started that, we only had 27. So there are new people popping up. There are folks who are getting themselves out there, and we're growing as a culture. So please, follow that entire thing. Like the next thing I'll be at I'll be at Bowie State University talking about diversity, and with a couple of people who've got letters behind their names.
Okay.
I'm just like, how do I find myself in a position to be up on stage talking to college students about how the mainstream media affects us as a culture, next to folks who are professors at HBCUs? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's that. But then also I'll be at the Urban Nerd Con with Blurred and Powerful and Blurred Station, doing as much as we possibly can, making as much content as possible so that we can get everyone down there represented fairly.
I'll keep in touch with you. I work at Morehouse out here, and I'm looking at trying to, because we have like a lot of vendors and different people that'll come to speak to students and things like that, but I want to really incorporate more of the nerddom. I think the Black nerds that we follow, that we have in the culture, just because I see so many of these students out here rock nerd gear, and I'm like, damn, I feel like they're not really getting that side of themselves as much in the university as much.
Man,
I'm looking into it. I'm trying to see what I can do, but
because I'm already going to like high schools in like DC or whatnot, and Boy Scout troops, and I'm talking to these kids about how their nerddoms can actually sustain them when they get older. You know what I mean? It's just all about what you're truly into. If you're into computer animation, if you're into voice acting, if you're into all these different things, you need to find ways now to start angling yourself there so you can be proficient by the time you get to the point where you can just be out there. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, for anybody curious, I'm gonna have, if you didn't catch what he said, I'm gonna get all those links to his different projects and things he's associated with in the video description as soon as I can right after this video. So just check back here. You can find those things if you can't find from what he said back in the last 2 minutes we've been talking, but I digress. Anyway, again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Church updates for the congregation. The only things I have going on right now, I just, like before we went live here, I released my video on Bloodline for anybody unfamiliar with the character that's Blade's biological daughter. So I was inspired by a good friend of mine, Dr. Kaori Knight. She recently did a video on her. I was immediately infatuated with the character when I bought the novelization for with the first 5 issues. Read through that thing in like an afternoon, and then was so inspired I had to create the video on it. So if you guys would be so kind as to go check that video out, like, subscribe, and do all that good stuff, I would be more than thankful, and I appreciate anybody for any support that I've gotten up until this point, and pray for continued support for any of my future endeavors. And then be on the lookout for the Blade Blunt Hunt stuff. Me and Dr. Kaori Knight are going to be collaborating on all the releases of that run they're going to be doing. We're going to be covering the main runs, and if people enjoy it, I'll go into the tie-ins as well. I haven't done any comic content really heavy yet on this particular channel, and I'm getting back into comic stuff with the Blood Hunt stuff, so I'd appreciate any support there. But again, this has been Captain Diesel of Captain Diesel's Dojo, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
You're now watching the Captain.